Why, hello! Welcome to the show. It is Sunday. Is it October?
Yes.
Yeah, October, what do we got? 20th, 2019. So, anyway, let's go ahead and switch over to that view there. How's it going, Zach?
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Might need to adjust your audio a little bit. So what shall we say, fun or maybe not so much fun, but excruciating task did you just complete?
Nothing.
So how did the update go?
It was a reinstall. It
You,
was.
yeah.
I mean, it was a reinstall. Whatever. It's the same thing every.
So
Install your garbage.
welcome to 1903.
I hate it.
What were you on before?
1511, and I would have stayed that way if I didn't have problems.
Wait, so what was happening?
Stuff that we don't want.
Blue screens?
Yes.
Oh, really? Like doing what? Just like randomly?
When I booted it.
Ooh. Where did that develop from?
I don't know.
Oh,
Probably being ancient.
Actually,
and my constant fiddling with it.
Actually, speaking of ancient stuff, on the show this week, the military has dropped floppy disks.
Hold on, I need to close the window.
Okay. You back with us or?
Okay.
Okay. A little chilly?
No. Some idiots outside with those toy Jeeps
Oops.
that have plastic wheels and make lots of noise when they are driven around on hard surfaces like roads.
I could tell nothing.
Well, I could.
Okay, cool.
So, that is all.
That is all. But yes, so yeah, the military has dropped using floppy disks.
Okay.
Yep, that's a thing.
I'm glad to hear that they were using them. Well, I'm fairly sure that such horrifically old things generally happen with regards to like nuclear bombs.
Yeah, it was.
You know,
it's about
so
the missile systems.
That's glad. I'm glad that our country's nuclear bombs are controlled by computers that still use floppy disks.
No, not anymore. Not anymore.
I'm glad they're not anymore then.
Let's see. There is a ransomware attack that can be exploited by utilizing iTunes on Windows-based PCs. That's a thing. Of course, your Microsoft news. Yahoo Groups will be shutting down and will be affecting the UK phone system.
Oh, you lost me at Yahoo.
Did I not gain you back at the fact that it's going to affect the UK phone system?
No.
It's actually kind of interesting. And if you bought an AMD FX CPU in California, you might be owed some money.
A settlement, huh? Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, with that, let's roll the intro. And back to us, and yes, so cool. So, how many drives do you actually have in your computer now, Zach?
5.
Jeez.
I just collected from overtime. Now when I get a new drive,
so
no sense getting rid of the old drive.
What do you have in there? So
I have a lot of old crap.
Well, no, but what I'm just saying is like, so I'm guessing a couple NVMEs, and what are the rest
Yes.
SATA?
Yes.
I see.
I have an M.2 SATA drive as well.
An M.2 SATA drive. Okay. Cool.
Yes. Some of the older M.2 drives just use a SATA interface. The 850 Evo being one of them.
I see. So, what are you
This
running
motherboard
now?
actually has 2 M.2 slots. However, one of them is, of course, conveniently tucked away behind a random piece of aluminum that just kind of screws on and does nothing.
Did yours come with heat sinks?
I think that it might be a heatsink, but I don't know.
because
It's not a very good excuse for a heat.
NVMe drives, draw so much heat nowadays.
I mean, they do get warm, actually. They do thermal throttle. They can do that, but
So,
like, what?
so I get a phone call yesterday. I'm sitting at work and I get a phone call from a guy, right? Do you guys help people build computers? No,
Why?
not generally, but what's going on? Well, I'm trying to build my first computer and I need a little help. So I told the guy to come in and bring it in.
Oh God.
So
I'd do that. I'd do the same thing. I'm bored. Let's do it.
So so he brings the computer in. He's got what I would consider to be a lower end cheap what I would consider to be kind of a cheap case, I would guess. Nothing super extraordinary. But anyways, mid tower case, which was a little bit different to work in because I've got a full tower case, which is awesome. Although I want to swap my case out, I think, get something a little smaller. Anyway, you know what really sucks is that I would love to go with the form factor of like mini ATX, but I'd have to get a new motherboard.
I don't need mini ATX, to be honest.
Mini or micro, one or the other. I just be.
Well,
so
it's
much...
actually micro, yeah. We're
no,
stupid.
there's micro and then there's mini.
You mean mini ITX?
Or is that what I'm thinking of? Oh yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yep, mini ITX. Anyway, the small form factors are kind of neat because they're small, of course, and then you can. Anyway, so yeah, so he brings it in. Not the world's greatest case in the world, but anyway, for a novice who had never built a computer before, he was actually pretty decently most of the way there.
So what had he done wrong?
Really nothing. He had his CPU installed, he had the cooler on it, he had the cooler plugged in, he had his memory in, graphics card in, front panel connectors connected, although this case made it really easy. Rather than having individual ones, it just had them all blocked together, so you just literally plugged in one controller, or one set of pins, basically. He had... what else? He had his front USB headers in. So he did a decent job. I basically stripped it again, though, because I was trying to figure out what he did. And kind of cable managed some stuff. I didn't do the greatest job of cable managing, because I was like, YOLO, I'm just putting it together. Plugging everything in for this guy, and he can fix it later if he wants. But, anyway, so... what's interesting though? So he had an not an Ethernet, like a Wi-Fi adapter card, right? So that obviously goes into the PCI slot, right? And then it actually utilizes a USB header space. So
what?
Yeah.
How does it take a USB header?
I don't know, but that's how it interfaces. And the problem with the motherboard was...
and why does it go into a PCI Express slot?
Yeah. Okay, it's probably... You know what? That's kind of what I was thinking, too. I was like, so it pulls power from PCI, the PCI slot, right? PCI Express slot, probably. But it has to be connected to the board using a USB header.
That's really stupid.
So, yeah, that was a thing. Which meant that I could not hook up his carb reader, nor could I hook up this front front panel USBs, because there was only, or actually I take that back. Now, okay,
Some boards have multiple headers for that.
it had two, at least that I could see. Unless there were some more hiding around the board somewhere, but the ones I could see were two. There was two of them, but anyway. So yeah, that was a thing, and then basically just hooked up like the power supply. He had the power supply already in. He just didn't have any cable. Well, actually, he had the 24 pin and what's the other one? The ATX one. What does that one do? I forget.
You talking about for the video card or for the CPU?
Oh, that's for the CPU. Okay, yep.
The 4+4.
Yeah, the 4+4. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what that one was. So he had both of those. I don't know if he actually had them plugged. I think the only one he actually had plugged into the board and the power supply was the 24 pin connector. But anyway, so got everything plugged in, and then ripped apart our, back office computer setup. Grabbed the keyboard and mouse and the monitor and powered it on, posted, and I was like, great. So, anyway, but yeah. So that was my.
But what did he actually do wrong other than not finish it?
He really didn't. He was really close. He just needed to plug in the power supply stuff.
I don't need help. Did you just not know how to do it from there?
I don't know. I wonder if he got confused with all the extra. He had some extra cables and stuff in there, so I'm guessing he got confused with all the extra cables. That were all plugged in. I don't know. But hey, I got to build a computer last night, essentially, or at least part of a computer. So,
well, fair enough.
But yeah. So anyway, yeah, here I am like pulling stuff out, trying to figure out what he did, and this was really weird. So like the what is the cable that provides power to like your drive? Not the SATA connector, but the other one.
Well,
what do they call that?
It would be a SATA connector, but there's also the Molex, a 4-pin one.
Yeah, the Molex connector.
But that's not for. You don't plug that into a hard drive.
Do you not? I thought you did.
Oh, what?
Or what
it's not really used anymore. Well, it's actually used for some. I had to use one for a LED strip that came with my case.
Yeah, so the LED strips used they came off. They had adapters that came off the Molex connectors.
Yeah, the LED strip really threw me for a loop. I was like, "What am I meant to do with this?" And I had to really think about it. And honestly, I forgot what actually ended up happening.
Oh, wait,
it's just in my case now.
Oh yeah, is this what I'm thinking of?
By the way, if you ever buy whatever this case is that I have that I forgot the name of as well, the magnets on the LED strip are the weakest crap ever.
Are they?
They barely stick to anything. It was very annoying to put that in because you just bump it a little bit and it would just fall right off. I'm like, what is this weak sauce magnet?
I have to my hard drive. I have two cables going to it. My physical hard drive.
Yeah, and one of those is a SATA power connector, and the other one is a SATA data connector.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep. Okay.
What are you talking about?
So not Molex. Okay, the SATA power one. So it had an adapter coming off of the SATA power. So the LED strip plugged into one of the SATA power adapter or headers, or not headers, but like connectors. That's how that case was doing RGB. So I don't know. Is that common for that? Is that how that works?
It wouldn't be complete without the RGB installed.
Well, I didn't have any RGB when we turned it on. I think it was, or I don't know. Actually, it had RGB on the front of the case, I think, or lighting at least on the front of the case. But is that how they normally do that? How do they normally power the lighting?
I don't know, because like I said, I forgot how my case does it because I set it up and forgot about it.
Wait, so you actually have
but RGB? I know that it was with a Molex connector.
So you actually have RGB in your system?
Yeah, it's just set to white though.
Why white? Why wouldn't you at least like no? And we talked about this. Remember, like,
I like it. It's black and white.
but
The one thing that sucks is that my video card is black and red, which looks kind of dumb, but you can't really see it. So who?
mine,
I don't know. I think my
my
computer.
MSI card is red and white.
All right.
However,
Huh.
remember what I named my system?
Yes.
Yeah, Redmond. So like the red theme totally goes along
Haha, get it?
with it.
Right. Yes, it has RGB. In fact, I have RGB memory and RGB motherboard, so I am the god of RGB now.
I thought you didn't. I thought you didn't like RGB. Wait, no. I thought you hated RGB.
I don't hate it. I just don't care about it. And everything has RGB now, so it's like impossible to avoid.
You know, a long time ago we talked about like.
That's why I said
RG,
I
like
set
an
it
LED
to
strip.
white because I liked it that way.
Right, but a long time ago we talked about an LED strip for accent lighting. Like you were okay with that. I thought that was okay. But like now people have like
I
RGB.
mean, my case came with it, you know, like whatever. I'm not gonna say no if you're gonna give it to me.
But like now people have like RGB fans and like now don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool things you can do with RGB, like setting it up so that like certain things like turn a different color based on the temperature of your CPU and stuff like that. That's kind of cool. You know, your fans could like turn a different color when they're like, you know, when the CPU's like really warm, things like that.
Yeah, so mine does not do that. No, mine obviously does not do that. But my fans, I mean, I think they're supposed to have some kind of LEDs, but they don't work, and I couldn't be bothered returning them.
They don't work, or you didn't hook them up right.
Well, when I hooked one up as described by the manual, there was like a spark and something smelled like it burnt. So I only plugged in the whichever connector actually turns, or no, sorry, I plugged the other ones into a different place, and it just works. It's just a fan now. It has no light. I think the lighting got like cooked or something, but I plugged it in exactly as it said, and I thoroughly reviewed the manual after that happened. Sorry, the sad excuse for a manual that it had, a piece of paper.
Wait, what did you tell me not to buy that case, right?
No, these are separate fans. This case is fine.
Oh.
It's a good case. The only thing I hate about it is it only has two bays for 3.5-inch drives, and also the installation method of the 3.5-inch drives is stupid, and it took me a while to figure it out. It's really stupid.
Kind of like how both of us were looking at the postcodes upside down the first time.
This motherboard doesn't have postcodes. It has post LED.
Really?
Yeah.
Post LED. Now I remember I was looking at it. I'm like, what the flip postcode is this? And then I realized I was looking at it upside down. Oh.
Do not worry. And also, when I built this computer, I made sure to test it like on the counter. I just laid it out on the counter, and I'm like, all right, time to jump the pins. Hey, it works.
Yours doesn't have. Oh, excuse me. Yours
this board actually has a power button on it.
Yeah, mine has a power button too. It's like it's a little round button that says start.
But I don't think I realized it at the time.
That's why I was about to ask. I was like, why did you jump it? Why didn't you just like hit the start button that's usually on the motherboards nowadays? Or at least these type of motherboards. But anyway.
I wish this motherboard had a button to boot to the BIOS.
Mine has that.
Yeah, and I thought that mine did have that, but I realized that it did not have. However, it's been good so far anyways.
Yeah. You know what? The only thing that sucks about this system is, like, Asus's... Yeah. Yeah, I am using an Asus board. Asus's board, like, for whatever reason, takes, like, a good few seconds to, like, actually, like, when I turn it on, it's not just instantaneous. Like, it takes a few seconds for it to, like, realize what's going on. I don't know if it's, like, checking a bunch of stuff first or what, but...
Mine won't display, you won't see any video output until it's posted.
Yeah, I think mine does that too.
And I had an issue where my, sometimes the, it's funny, the display would not even come up until after Windows started loading. So I had trouble getting into the BIOS until I realized, well, I'll just turn off fast boot. And then it works fine. Also, for some reason, it just decided that, no longer would we be displaying the boot sequence on the main monitor. We'd be displaying it on the right.
On the secondary?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it did that.
I've seen some systems, like some OEM systems, that will actually mirror, like the start sequence on both monitors. I know. Yeah, it is a little interesting.
That could be handy for like troubleshooting though.
Could be. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, the U.S. military retires floppy disk used by nuclear weapons systems. Zach.
Okay, I'm glad to find out. I'm pretty sure I knew that.
The
but
U.S.
I'm glad that they. God, that's just so absurd.
Yeah, so the U.S. Air Force has finally retired the 8-inch floppy disk that it was using, for basically launching, nuclear missiles from silos around the country. This was according to a Thursday report from defense site C4 Ursnet. Ursnet? Yeah, whatever. So, the Strategic Automated Command and Control System switched its storage component. So it changed from the floppy disk to now it is using high security solid state digital storage solutions, or a storage solution. That's what they're using now. So welcome to the 21st century.
Wow, incredible.
This was back in June. In 2014, 60 Minutes did a tour that revealed in the event an order was given to launch, command would rely on the 8-inch floppy disks. I don't know, but don't floppy disks degrade over time?
I'm sure they had to get new ones. I bet some company out there was like supplying them these floppy disks for ages, just making.
Well, so they were using
because no one else has them.
And I don't know if they still are, but they were using a 1970s era IBM Series 1 mainframe computer, Zach.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all.
Here's the only thing, though. So, overall, that computer system is actually, it's old, but way more secure.
I wouldn't be surprised if the missiles were that old, too.
Well, okay, but you understand why it's more secure, right?
Yeah, because nobody knows how to work the thing anymore.
Well, that probably, and the fact that you can't hack something that doesn't have an IP address.
And something that's not online.
So, but
well, why would, even if it was network capable, why would it be on a network? Like, that's just so stupid.
Well, who knows? Like, the IRS's system was, like, running on, like, old IBM mainframes.
All right, here we go. Security 101. Don't put the nuclear bombs on the net. Got it? Got it.
No, just put them on the ARPANET.
Ah, okay. Well, as long as there's no way for anyone to get into that.
Actually, I don't know. Does the ARPANET still exist?
That is not even necessarily a good idea. Still, like, if you want to launch a nuclear bomb, you should probably just have somebody go and push the button in person, right? Like, surely that can be arranged, right? Like, just call them up and be like, hey, I need you to launch the bomb. Here's
I thought that's
code.
how it worked. I thought you had to,
I don't know.
Who knows? But anyway, so
okay, look, but you'd have to have a network of some description to communicate with the person pushing the button, right? And to verify the authenticity of the.
What is a phone for?
The bomb itself does not have to be on the network, or network to anything besides the button. I don't know, whatever.
Right. That's amazing.
Talking a bunch of crap, I'm sure.
It's amazing what we would network these days, though, because like the whole power grid is networked. So if somebody gets into the power grid, they can like totally like screw everything up. So, anyway, but yeah, so that's a thing. Nice to know that the security of the United States is or was in the hands of what 60-year-old technology or something. Maybe not quite that old. 30-year-old technology. How long is the? How long is the
50 about
8-inch floppy disk? Let's see here. Release notes. Let's see. Floppy disks were an almost universal data format from the late 1970s to the 1990s. So, I remember using floppy disks in school. Well, actually, by that point, they weren't that floppy anymore. They were actually pretty decently, like, hard-shelled.
I think the disk inside is floppy.
Oh.
Isn't it?
No, I thought it was actually a spinning disc inside.
Yeah, and it's not very rigid. Or is it? I don't know.
I don't know. It's been a long
I've
time.
never taken apart a floppy disk.
It's been a long time since I've played with a floppy disk. Actually, I still have some somewhere. I've got like Word or something like that, like an old copy of Word on floppy. Not in the basement somewhere.
Like an antique.
Right? Yeah. So, a flaw in iTunes for Windows, abused for ransomware attacks. Zach.
Fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ransomware attacks have been abusing a vulnerability in Windows version or the Windows version of Apple iTunes, that can avoid detection from antivirus software. So you're basically just screwed. So, that's according to security researchers. The problem deals with the Apple-created Bonjour updater that comes with iTunes for Windows and pops up whenever it jolly well pleases. Actually, here's the thing, though. At least it's considerate enough to actually ask you whether you want an update, unlike some companies. Microsoft.
Microsoft. Oh, cold, man. I swear.
Yeah. Like, Adobe's got it figured out. Java's got it figured out. Java is horrible, though. You want to update? You want to update? You want to update? You want to update? Oh, my gosh. What else? Yeah. Basically, everyone's got it figured out except for Microsoft. Here's a new update. Here you go. By the way, did you disable the update service again?
You bet I did.
Of course. So there was a security firm that discovered it also suffers from an unquoted path vulnerability, whatever the heck that is. But it can cause the Bonjour updater to indiscriminately run a file, whether it be safe or malicious. So basically what I'm guessing is happening is they're figuring out how to utilize the Bonjour software to actually install the program. And because here's the problem. So Bonjour is so well known in the software industry as being safe that antivirus software doesn't look at it and say, nope, not safe. So it just kind of, I guess, lets it do whatever-ish to a certain degree. But yeah. So I guess this new ransomware comes from the hackers behind the BitPaymore ransomware strain discovered, or they discovered the vulnerability and then are using it for their attacks now. And let's see, attacks have been targeting companies by first delivering phishing emails, then secretly contain malware. The attacks will then conduct reconnaissance over the target's corporate network before unleashing a ransomware, or before unleashing the ransomware. Apple earlier this week did fix the vulnerability in iTunes by rolling out updates. However, many users may be running an unpatched version of the Bonjour updater, so it doesn't really help you. You got to install the update, with the patch in it to fix the problem. But anyway, ransomware attacks I feel like are becoming a bigger and bigger thing now.
Yes, it's unfortunate.
Right. Well, so what is the best protection against ransomware, Zach?
Don't be a dum dum.
I actually like that. Don't
I don't know.
click on links to things that you're not sure about.
Like that. It sounds stupid and maybe even condescending, but it's true.
Yep. So,
like you don't need some crazy, like expensive, resource hogging antivirus software to avoid getting infected. You just need to rub a couple brain cells together.
So here's an interesting question, and that is, in your corporate environment, what does your...
We would not be vulnerable to this because users cannot install anything.
Okay, so there you go. Well, okay, users can't, but who's to say somebody in the IT department doesn't, click on something they're not supposed to?
Are you talking about the Bonjour thing? I mean,
No,
nobody would have that installed unless
I'm just
we
saying in
approved of it.
general. I'm just saying in general, in your
I don't
corporate
know.
network, who's to say?
I mean, we all use standard user accounts as well, so we can install stuff either without escalating.
So okay, so that does kind of prevent some stuff from getting into the network. I mean, well, I don't know. There's so many different exploits and things like that. But does your company do anything to train your employees to basically not click on stupid
We
stuff?
have phishing tests.
Okay.
With that KnowBe4 software.
I was just gonna mention that. So for the church,
kind of easy to spot, but not for all people, I guess.
Well, but you know what to look for. So, have you got, like, are you included in this like phishing?
Yes.
Yep. So you've picked them out, haven't you?
Yeah, they're not very difficult. But we can see who falls for it.
Right. Yeah. So I want to deploy this for the church at some point to see how many. Is it astonishing how many people actually fall for it, or are most people?
I don't even know. To be honest, I don't know the number.
I was gonna say, or are most people in your corporate environment like fairly well?
There's a lot of stupid people. Don't worry.
We need to get that printed on a shirt. There's a lot of stupid people. Don't worry. I was thinking back to our very first video, Zach, when I was asking you how to format the hard drive for the BIOS, and you're like, I don't know, but it can't be that hard. And then we put underneath it, every IT professional ever. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, that's what we did.
What kind of BIOS would support formatting a hard drive?
I don't know. It was your idea.
That seems weird.
It was your idea, not mine, because
whatever.
I turned to you and asked you, yeah, Zach, how exactly do you do that? I don't know, but it can't be that hard.
That's dumb if I did that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, something, TV manufacturers should invent a remote that has, or a keyboard that comes out of the remote.
They still should do that.
Yeah, they have. It's called an app, Zach.
No, they should still do that.
You want a hardware solution, don't you?
They should still do that because apps are too hard for some people.
Yeah, this is true.
They are. They're too hard for some people.
This is true.
Believe me. Like I said, a lot of stupid people. We got some stupid people in from Germany now because they're installing a new press that the company paid 7 figures for. And They were complaining the other day that our Wi-Fi is slow. Well, you know why it's slow? It's because you're VPNing back to Germany.
Are they really?
That's why the Wi-Fi is slow.
Wait,
Is because
okay,
you're trying to
but
download over
hang
your
on.
stupid VPN from
Hang
Germany.
on. Hang on, though, okay? Be honest, though. Is there
speed
anything...
tested it. It was like 200 megabits. I don't want to hear it.
Okay, hang on, though. Are they on a separate network? And is it being throttled?
We speed tested it on the separate network.
Oh, okay. You're still getting like 200 down.
It's because they were VPNing to Germany. On their own VPN that probably sucks.
Oh, man.
And also goes across an ocean and things.
Yup. Yep. So that's a thing that happened there. But anyway. All right, time for our Microsoft news. Which in this week's episode episode, sure. Yeah, I don't know. Microsoft's latest Surface Book 2 update fixes its dreaded NVIDIA GPU bug. Because, apparently Microsoft just decided to uninstall your NVIDIA GPU.
Lovely.
Oh, you didn't want that GPU. Let's just uninstall it for you.
I had a funny thing happen with mine when I reinstalled my OS. I had no additional monitors until I installed the drivers for the GPU.
Really?
It seemed weird to me. You'd think that the native driver would at least support a couple monitors, but
maybe?
do that.
No.
It didn't work. There's no maybe about it. It definitely doesn't. It didn't work.
I know the 1903 update is full of just bugs and stuff like that. Like, for instance, with my laptop, there's no sound.
Well, I don't intend to change anything. So I discovered a trick way long ago where you can basically tell the update service to run as the guest user account, and it will just when it tries to run.
Wait, what?
Yep. Great solution. So now instead of disabling and have Microsoft over here being like, shh, we're gonna turn it back on, but don't tell him, okay? We don't want him to know. Then they'll be over here instead all like, all right, we're gonna turn on the updates. Don't tell him. Oh crap, it just failed. Oh crap. So that's what happens instead.
I see. So Microsoft's recent firmware updates for the Surface Book 2 have seemed to fix a big issue. Over the past few months, it prevented some users from being able to update to the latest version of Windows 10. I'm guessing the 1903 update, which apparently just sucks. And the problem started following the release of Microsoft's May 2019 update. Some users reported that their quote-unquote high-end Surface Book 2 configurations no longer detected their dedicated NVIDIA graphics card in the device manager. See, again, now here's the question on this one. Okay, so here's what Microsoft does now, right? So they have moved to this, let's run a bunch of VMs with different configurations, and we'll use that for testing, which does diddly squat, and let's rely on, just beta testers and things like that. Well, the beta testers can't send the information back that Microsoft actually really needs, and see, they used to do all this stuff in-house. That's why Windows actually used to be pretty decent when updates came out. Then the company got cheap and decided to basically demolish that entire division, and so now everything just kind of sort of sucks. But here's the funny thing, right? Is that Microsoft is building the operating system and the hardware solution here. Not specifically NVIDIA, but, they have plenty of access to Surfaces.
Surely they can,
surely they can get it right on their own,
right?
On their own device. Surely. But apparently not. So, I did the whole quote-unquote high-end thing, but you know what? I would honestly say that a Surface Book is probably more higher end than a MacBook.
It probably is.
So, yeah. So this was a big issue if you wanted to play games or run any other GPU-intensive applications that relied on the NVIDIA hardware. Of course, you know. No, that's funny. That's how that works.
God, I don't even know. I don't even want to know how it runs the games.
How bad the game.
Oh, we've been playing for 30 seconds. Activate thermal throttle.
If that's on a Surface Book, then what's a? Well, actually, I take that back because you
What's
would.
on a MacBook? More like, we've been idling for approximately 30 seconds. Activate thermal throttle.
Yeah, that's pretty good right there. That's pretty good.
Disclaimer: I have owned neither of these devices.
Yeah. Me as well. I owned 0.
You have a MacBook. Well, you have a
Actually, I take
2012 MacBook, I guess.
You know what?
Kind of doesn't really count anymore.
The mid 2012 MacBook Pro is actually not that bad.
I know you like it, but it's still way older than the MacBooks we're talking about. I like it,
so it doesn't. Only because it's not stupid. And what I mean by that is that I can take the back cover off. I can change out the battery. I can.
Wait, you mean you can do things that
a
device owner can do?
I can actually update it. I can put an SSD in it if I want to put an SSD in it, which I did. That's why I said that one is not actually all that stupid. Now, full disclaimer, and that is I have retired that machine. I still own it. It's still in my possession. But the last time I touched it was probably 2 or 3 months ago.
Sucks.
Because I have my new laptop now, my new Dell laptop, which is running Windows, and I absolutely love it. I just can't update it to the 1903 update because Microsoft sucks. But anyway, so that's a thing. But what am I looking for here? Let's see here. Is this it? No. Oh, this is funny though. So this goes back to 2018. So Microsoft was formally launching a replacement program for Surface Pro 4s that were suffering from screen flickering issues. Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember at my old place of employment, we had one, and it absolutely stumped the guy who was. I had a little bit of a giggle when I realized, or when we discussed it later on, and I remembered that, and I was like, well, no wonder he had such a. Because it's literally unfixable unless Microsoft has it, and my guess is that Microsoft is probably not going to fix it. It's just going to recycle.
Any device that was experiencing a problem would have been covered under warranty back then, for up to 3 years from the actual purchase date. Which is
does make me wonder though, what actually caused that?
Yeah, I don't know. Some users have taken. It might have been an overheating thing because some users were taking drastic measures to fix the problem, like
hardware damage, yeah,
like putting it in the freezer.
Wait, and that actually fixed it?
Temporarily, it fixed the problem.
What?
Yeah.
It's definitely a hardware issue.
I mean, it did temporarily fix the problem.
It's like the old put your graphics card in the oven.
Yep. Yeah, remelt the solder on it.
Like, well, it's an old card anyway, and I got nothing to lose, so why not?
Oh, man, I'm so tired. Let's see here. I'm looking for something that I wrote a long time ago. Google Pixel 3 AMD 32 core. That's not it. Let's see. This isn't it either. I got too many documents is the problem. Oh, so my employer just brought in a bunch of like smart home stuff a couple weeks ago, which is kind of funny. Or maybe not funny, but well, it's funny because a electronics retailer in my area is going out of business, and so we're like just getting this stuff like at the perfect time, to be able to come in and like basically say, well, screw you guys. Oh yeah, so here it is. Okay, so this is back from 2018, but here's what this said. Apple could be switching from Intel to ARM-based processors, Zach.
Oh yeah, Apple and Intel are not the best of friends anymore, I hear.
Yeah. This change will most likely be happening in the next 2 to 3 years, and they will be certain that these new chips
Wait, how
will
does
be
that work?
available.
Hold on. I thought that Apple was not being friends with Qualcomm anymore. Well, I don't know. I guess Apple's just not friends with anybody anymore.
Right. But anyway, so this change will most likely be happening in the next 2 to 3 years. Granted, this was written in 2018. And they will be certain that these new chips will be available in the next set of MacBook Pros that will be released. The change comes from the fact that Apple will no longer have to rely on Intel's processors and their downfalls. Oh, you mean like the downfalls of them overheating when you don't cool them properly? The transition is almost certain to start with Apple's laptops, as it might take some time before Apple's chips can match those from Intel in terms of performance for the company's high-end Mac products. Again, processors tend to work better when they don't thermal throttle Apple. Just saying. Oh, and this is also assuming that you believe Apple actually makes high-end products. So there you go. Yeah, but funny, Apple. Apparently CPUs perform worse when they're overheated.
Oh.
This is news to me. Did you know that, Zach?
Nope.
Yeah, funny how that works.
I just picture some Apple and Intel executives, hanging out together or whatever they do. I don't know, communicating with each other, and they're like, "All right, Intel, we need this high performance CPU for our new MacBook, but it can only be 5 watts, okay? Only 5 watts. Our new MacBook needs to be only 2 millimeters thick, okay? So no more than 5 watts." And Intel's over here like, "Oh, I can't. It's impossible. Look, you see this? It's just not possible. The numbers you request will generate at least 15 watts of heat. And Apple's over here like, "No, we need it. We need it. Ah."
Yeah. I don't get it. Like,
Friendship over with Intel. ARM is my new best friend.
Yeah. So back to this whole Nvidia thing here. If you're one of the people that's impacted by this, The Verge can confirm that there's now updates out that will fix the problem. So go do some research online. You'll find some download links. Yeah, yada yada. Everything will be good. So anyway, but yeah. So moving on. This is actually kind of an interesting story here. Some of the UK's phone numbers infrastructure relies on Yahoo Groups, which is going to be shutting down. So Yahoo Groups is about to shut down, taking a lot of the old web with it, and all content that was posted on the platform will be deleted by mid-December, specifically December 14th. However, all that information will be made available for download. Yeah. But apparently Yahoo didn't give much warning, and a lot of the weird externalities of the decision are being worked out in the public. But get this, so the UK's phone system relied in part on a Yahoo group founded in 2002, Zach.
Why?
That's a great question, and here's why. So Ofcom, the Office of Communications, which is basically the equivalent of the United States FCC, is responsible for assigning blocks of phone numbers, like 10,000 numbers at a time, to the different telecom companies. And then the telecom companies can make those, make those active and things like that. The thing is, though, is they were using the group so that they could basically communicate to other telecom companies what particular, who particularly had a specific phone number, so that they could figure out how to route all the voice traffic and things like that. So Ofcom isn't really involved with the whole YouTube page thing. It's all the telecom companies that are using it to basically tell each other, who has which number, basically. Which, again, is important because it determines how calls are routed and changed through the whole system. So
Funny.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of, like, DNS for the web. So, yeah. But, like, who knew that the UK's phone system relied that heavily on that stuff? Now, to be clear, Ofcom does keep a database of this stuff, but I don't know if it's just not as intuitive as the group is, or what exactly. So, yeah. But anyways, for those who do not know, Zach, what is DNS? What does it do? What is it?
Domain name services.
That's great. What does it do? Do you know?
Turns a URL into an IP address. Or a domain name, which is a URL.
Well, it links domain names to it links domain names.
That's pretty much what I said.
IPs. So, let's see here. Let's do this. So, I don't know if this is gonna work. So, pingdell.com. Yes. Well, maybe not. The request time's out. I wonder what happens if we ping Google. There we go. So that works. All right. So we get 172.217.4.46. So if we open up a web browser here, and what numbers did I say? Let's see here. 172.217.4.46. That was a bad example. This is funny. Let's pull up Yahoo's website. Did you see that Yahoo like redid their logo at one point in time?
Nope.
Yeah.
Never went there.
So 172.217.4.46, and it takes us straight to Google. And so, but see, here's the thing: if we had to remember IP addresses to move around the whole entire internet, can you imagine? Like,
Would be pretty bad.
it would kind of suck, just a little bit. Like, yeah. So, anyway, but that's what that does, and so because of this, the whole group shutting down is gonna, like, I don't know, probably throw a giant wrench in all this stuff, but kind of funny, actually. So, moving on, Zach, have you purchased a CPU from California?
No.
An AMD CPU from California? Well, you purchased an AMD.
I purchased an AMD CPU in Minnesota.
Live in California? Have a computer processor direct from AMD.com? Ever pay for an AMD FX 8120, 8150, 8320, 8350, 8370, 9370, or 9590 processor? No? Well, if you have, you can now submit a claim for up to $300 per CPU, Zach.
Wow. Pretty hefty amount of money.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. So in August, AMD agreed to pay a $12.1 million class action settlement to basically nix a question that it had been dodging for years. Do you know what question that was? Or why is AMD in trouble?
Because they questionably advertised their FX CPU.
Hey, you have been paying attention.
This is far from old news.
Is it really? This is the first time hearing about
All
it.
right. No, this is a thing for a while.
Well, okay. So when did the FX CPUs come out? Like when was the Oh, what the heck
Oh,
did
like
they?
2012? I don't know.
Yeah, the bulldozer and pile driver CPUs. Who thought that was a good naming scheme?
I'm gonna bulldoze some numbers today.
Pile drive. I like the pile driver. That's the funny one. I'm much more like Ryzen and Threadripper. I think they just sound way better than this. But anyways, yeah. So AMD falsely advertised its bulldozer and pile driver CPUs. So what did they falsely advertise about it? Do you actually know?
Yes,
Okay, so what?
it's. I don't know all of the details, but the cores in these FX CPUs were sharing certain components with each other. So, X number of cores might share certain components with each other instead of having one for each, and that would negatively affect certain performance aspects.
Now let's be clear about this. It was actually an 8-core processor. It
However,
had 8
yeah,
cores.
it is 8 cores. It has I forget the
Well,
term for it, but it has eight actual units that do number crunching
well, so those cores were separated
that
across
share
four.
certain other components.
The actual cores were separated across 4 modules.
Yes, I think maybe you have a better idea of it. I'm
I
remembering from
just
a while
I
ago.
just have the notes and I have the bullet points in front of me, and then each only had one set of the resources you typically pair with a CPU core in the day. So basically, what you said, where not every core had its own separate set of um, like resources, I guess, like they probably should have. Is that what is that right? Does that sound right? Did I get that right?
Do you not hear me?
No, I couldn't hear you then.
What? In some other, in other, in most other designs, those components aren't shared.
Yeah. So because of this whole fiasco thing, the market, basically, punished AMD for the error, because well, these processors failed to impress at launch.
Yeah.
This was back when AMD was still sucking. But yeah. Uh, Now let's be clear. AMD has managed to, steadily claw its way back up the ladder. And pretty good. I would say they're competing pretty well with, or I don't know. But yeah, I guess competing pretty well with Intel.
They definitely are. What do you mean?
Well, what I was gonna say is, are they really competing though? Like
They are, yeah.
in the high end market, maybe.
Have you seen Intel cutting prices on some of their high-end desktop parts? I mean, they'll tell you it's because we want to give our customers the chance to upgrade to a higher performance, newer Intel product. But
And how much
it's
is
not
that?
true.
How much is a new motherboard gonna cost you?
I don't know. But you all know, everyone knows that it's because of Zen. Because Zen actually gives Intel a run for its money, and they have
In the
to.
high end market. Now on the OEM side, like Intel's still
And there's a lot of reasons for that, and one of the biggest of those reasons is because Intel has a lot of money, and they can basically bribe OEMs to use their products. This was a thing a long time ago, where I think that in the EU or somewhere in Europe, Intel got a like 1 point something billion dollar fine which they haven't paid, by the way, for what is essentially bribing OEMs to use their products. Something about that, okay, you guys are only allowed to use 10% AMD CPUs. The rest have to be ours.
Interesting.
So yeah, they're not the friendliest company to be on the bad side of. But yeah, I mean, again, they still have a ton of money, and AMD doesn't. So I don't know. Who knows what they'll do next?
Right. So here's the thing: if you did purchase one of these and you want to submit a claim, do so by filling out a form online and do it before January 3rd, 2020. This is interesting though. You don't need to submit proof of purchase. At least yet.
So what stops you from going online and saying, "Hey, I bought an FX CPU"?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know on that one. And that's if you bought fewer than 5, you don't have to. If you bought more than 5, then yes, you do have to provide proof of purchase. See, that's what I thought too. I was like, you don't have to provide proof of purchase. So who stops? How do they stop you from just saying you bought one? That's stupid. But now here's the thing: don't expect to actually get that $300 or even get any money at all. If you do, here's why. The more people that sign up, the less money there is going to be for each person. And then what happens in a lawsuit?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
You don't have to be a lawyer to understand. So
things take a long time.
That and what else? People have to get what? Specifically, lawyers.
Lawyers get paid.
There you go.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the lawyers are going to take, get this, 30% of the money.
Okay.
The two plaintiffs get up to $7,500 each. And there's an estimated $700,000 for settlement administration. So that leaves room for, Zach, you're good at math.
For some amount of money to be given to those who bought the CPUs. Got it.
Okay. Zach, you're a math whiz. Figure that out.
I'm not going to.
I couldn't resist. So this only leaves room for 25,000 full payments to be made. Court's going to tally up the forms to decide the settlement seems fair on February 20th, 2020. So, but yeah. So, you may get some money, you may not. So, who knows? But, yeah. Let's see here. What else? Real quick. Have you heard about this new RCS thing? RCS messaging, Zach?
No.
It's basically supposed to be like the next, like, it's supposed to replace SMS and MS.
Oh, wait, yes, I did.
Yep.
Heard about that?
And an MMS. So the Google Pixel 4 won't be supporting it. Verizon and T-Mobile won't be. AT&T has not yet said whether they are. However, Sprint says that they will be supporting RCS. Apparently the rollout's been a mess. Excuse me. Google settled on the solution in 2018 for upgrading the messaging app and Android, but little movement has been made over the last few years. And Google said it would start enforcing the changes on its carrier partner, forcing the change on its carrier partners early this year, but that hasn't happened in the US. So anyway, so that's a thing that happened. And Apple is rumored to launch a new set of AirPod Pro headphones at the end of October. What makes them Pro? They're noise canceling, but that's about it.
Yeah, except without anything to actually go around your ear, how are they going to cancel noise very well?
I'm guessing they're doing some kind of filtering thing. I don't know. Bloomberg reported that they would arrive in 2018. They've revised that now to being in 2020. Let's see here. They're said to support or to include a new metal design to support noise cancellation. Okay, however the heck that's going to work. They'll also include water resistance. Yeah, and they will cost you a whopping how much, Zach? Best guess? If you're talking, I can't hear you.
What? Hello?
There we go.
$300.
Not horribly off. 260. So, anyway, yeah. You also want a $1,000. Do you also want a $1,000 stand for your, $5,000 monitor?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh God, that was so stupid. But anyway, all right. Well, that's our show this week. I got nothing else. You have nothing else, I'm sure. So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Like if you liked, dislike if you didn't like. Comment down below, get subscribed, hit the bell, all that fun stuff. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye.